Terence Crawford, amazing effort against Canelo, who also had an amazing effort. Terence Crawford unanimously won that championship. So how, in fact, is it 2.5 months later that he's no longer the champion of the World Boxing Confederation? Because he didn't pay a fee?
WWE President Nick Khan has made his position very clear in boxing's biggest new conflict. He has spoken openly against the WBC for their surprising move to take the title away from Terence Crawford. Nick Khan called the whole situation complete nonsense. He said taking a belt from an undefeated champion because of a fee is not a rule. He believes it is a scam. This issue is no longer just about a championship. It has turned into a business power grab. And Nick Khan is prepared to stand with Crawford to reveal the truth once and for all.
Crawford is no longer undisputed, and the reason why is everything that's wrong with boxing. The WBC has stripped Terence Crawford of his belt. Was he defeated? No, never. Did he test positive for steroids? Of course not. What he did do was refuse to pay them $300,000 for basically existing. Sanctioning bodies are the people who own all the belts. WBC, WBO, WBA, IBF. They're famously corrupt, make rules that make no sense, create mandatories, have rules that apply more to some fighters and less to others, and they deserve no money. But they take a percentage of every fight they sanction for one of their belts. And Terence Crawford actually was willing to pay a fee, just not the fee they were demanding. And I think if I'm an organization that does basically nothing, and somebody out there is literally risking their lives, and all I do is give them a belt, and they are willing to give me any money at all for my troubles, I should shut up, be happy, and take the money and smile. But no, they had to strip him of his belt, and now they're gonna give it to somebody who absolutely definitely doesn't deserve it. Just like they kinda just stripped Usyk of his belt. This is why we don't have undisputed fighters enough, and this is a huge problem with boxing. And this is why all the sanctioning bodies have to go. I'm not saying TKO and the whole Zuffa Boxing Saudi League thing is the answer, but we need an answer because there's a problem, and Terence Crawford stood up to that.
Boxing is the only major sport in the world where a fighter can win the biggest fight and still lose the title because of paperwork fees. The WBC decision to strip Crawford shows how ridiculous the modern alphabet belt era has become. Crawford moved up to 168 pounds and defeated Saul Canelo Alvarez. That is a proven fact. He held the championship. He lifted the belt inside the ring. Still, Mauricio Suleiman and the WBC board decided that power and performance matter less than money. By taking the belt away, they turned it into a reward for anyone willing to pay more. This reveals a harsh reality about boxing. These sanctioning bodies act less like regulators and more like businesses selling titles for profit. Crawford did not suddenly lose his talent. He did not fail any drug test. He simply refused to keep paying. And for the WBC, that choice is the greatest offense.
Bluff.
He petitioned to fight a final elimination bout in super welterweight against Madrimov and remain champion in welter. The WBC supported him. He did not comply with the rules. Then he moves up to super middle and makes the fight of the century, beats Canelo, makes $50 million or around that. The WBC absolutely is not going to charge 3% of such an amount. We made a very clear 0.6%, which is $300,000, with $225,000 going to the Jose Sulaiman Boxers Fund, which is to help former fighters in need. And it is just regrettable. Not even a thank you or I'm sorry, taking a different route, no response. I wish him the best. But this is not. The WBC is huge, it's great, it's about greatness, and I'm relieved, to tell you the truth.
This is where the money details start to feel both shocking and insulting. Normally, these sanctioning bodies take a large share of a fighter's earnings, usually about 3%. In a fight as massive as Crawford versus Canelo, where Crawford reportedly earned $50 million, the percentage would have been huge. It would mean millions paid just to display the WBC name. According to Suleiman, the WBC claimed they were being generous. During their convention in Thailand, Suleiman said they capped the fee at only $300,000. This lowered the cut to about 0.66%. They saw this as a favor. They sent multiple invoices to Crawford's team expecting payment and appreciation. Instead, they received nothing. Crawford cut off contact. He did not confirm receipt. He did not try to negotiate, and he did not pay. He completely ignored them for 2 straight fights, including his match against Israil Madrimov. To the WBC, this was seen as clear disrespect. To everyone else, it looked like Crawford finally called their bluff.
See, Mauricio, got a lot to say about me not paying him $300,000 plus another $100K something for sanction fees, right? Then he gonna tell me I ain't even apologize? Like, who the fuck you think I am? Boy, you better slap your fucking self.
When the news spread that he had been stripped, Crawford did not release a calm statement. He went live on Instagram and unleashed an angry message that people will remember for a long time. He shattered the image of status around the green belt. Speaking from his car, Crawford mocked the idea that he owed Mauricio Suleiman any apology. He made it clear in harsh language that the WBC president was not owed a single dollar and should feel embarrassed for believing otherwise.
Fuck you talking about pay $300,000. What makes you so motherfucking better than any of the other sanctioned bodies? Huh? Answer that question. What makes you better than the WBO, the IBF, or the WBA? Everybody accepted what I was giving them. But you, the WBC, think that you better than everybody, don't you? So since you, the WBC, and you got the fucking green belt, which don't mean fucking shit. The fucking real belt is the ring belt, which is free, motherfucker. Who you talking about? You want me to pay you more than the other sanctioned bodies because you feel like you better than them. How in the world all the sanctioned bodies agree to the same amount, but you sit your motherfucking ass up there and say that I need to apologize to you? The fuck? You can take the fucking belt. It's a trophy anyway.
Crawford went beyond simply arguing about money. He revealed where he believes that money really ends up. In a moment of blunt honesty, Crawford accused sanctioning body leaders of using these fees to support luxury lifestyles. He spoke about them flying private jets, staying in expensive hotel suites, and eating top-level meals. All of it, he said, is paid for by fighters who risk serious brain damage in the ring. He highlighted the unfairness of executives in suits living comfortably while athletes bleed for their income. He dismissed the belt as just a trophy and made it clear that he is the real draw, not the plastic and gold strap around his waist.
You didn't pay the admin fee, so you aren't the World Series champions anymore.
This situation creates a serious problem for the WBC because Crawford is not standing alone in this fight. He now has powerful corporate support behind him. Nick Khan, the president of WWE and a major leader within TKO, which owns both WWE and UFC, stepped in publicly during an appearance on the Pat McAfee show. When Nick Khan speaks, the sports entertainment world pays attention, and he spoke very clearly. He called the entire situation complete nonsense. Khan then shared an example that broke down the WBC logic in a way any fan could understand. He asked people to imagine the Los Angeles Dodgers battling through a tough 7-game World Series and winning the championship. Then he said, imagine Major League Baseball showing up a week later and saying you did not pay an admin fee, so you are no longer champions.
Terence Crawford was stripped of his titles because he didn't pay a fee back to the World Boxing Confederation or whatever it is for $300,000. So they stripped his title because he didn't pay them that amount of cash afterwards. And so he's not the champion because he didn't pay them. They stripped him, whatever the case. It seems like really odd timing that this news gets released right now when tomorrow, I believe, there is a conversation happening in Congress about a little bit of an evolution of this or a revival of this particular act. And I know Zuffa is a massive piece of this, but you're not the only ones. There's a lot of boxers that are backing this. There's a lot of people in the boxing business that are backing it. There are retractors, obviously. Can you tell me about what you guys are trying to do and why people would not want you to do it that are in the boxing world?
Of course. So first of all, on the Terence Crawford side, you watched that fight on Netflix on September 13th. Terence Crawford, amazing effort against Canelo, who also had an amazing effort. Terence Crawford unanimously won that championship. So how in fact is it 2.5 months later that he's no longer the champion of the World Boxing Confederation? Because he didn't pay a fee? That would be akin to the Los Angeles Dodgers, whether you're a Dodger fan or not, having won a grueling 7-game World Series in one of the greatest Game 7s of all time. It would be like if Major League Baseball came to them and said, well, you didn't pay us a fee, so you're no longer the World Series champion. It's only in this sport of boxing where you see nonsense like this.
Openly backing Crawford, Khan sent a clear message that major players in the sports business are done with the old boxing system. They view it as outdated, broken, and ready to be replaced. The real damage here is not to Crawford's legacy. The real harm is to the WBC brand itself. A championship belt only has value when fans believe the fighter holding it is truly the best in the world. When the top pound-for-pound fighter tells everyone that your belt means nothing, people start listening. Crawford clearly said that the only title that matters is the Ring Magazine belt. The reason is simple. The Ring belt is earned, not bought. There are no sanctioning fees. You only need to prove you are the best.
It's free! It's free! How you love that? $180,000 free. How much your belt cost? I wonder, how much your belt cost? Huh? I don't see no receipts on your belt. It's crazy. Y'all be having so much taxes on these belts. You got some nerves. It's crazy that you can sit up there and have all these belts. You know, you got the WBC silver, the WBA intern, the whatever belt y'all got, and you taxing these fighters every time they fight, and you claim that you for these fighters. You're not for these fighters. You probably worse than the promoters. But hey, I wish you.
Separating titles that are paid for from titles that are earned, Crawford is reducing the value of the WBC brand. He questioned what truly makes the WBC different from the IBF, WBA, or WBO. He explained that every other organization accepted the amount he was willing to pay, while the WBC behaved as if it deserved special treatment. This way of speaking is risky for Suleiman. If fighters begin to understand that they can become major stars without paying fees to the WBC, then the entire system falls apart. Crawford is showing that his name alone sells fights, and that it carries more weight than any alphabet belt printed on a poster.
So I do think the organizations, the sanctioning bodies, have to be a sort of necessary evil, but deals have to come to the table when you're talking about this kind of money, because like Crawford said, he's the one risking his life, he's the one taking the punches. The Ring Magazine title is free. It's the one you don't have to pay for, but it also has no power. There's no fights that are ever enforced by the Ring title. You know, you can't, the Ring, that was always my problem with the Ring title, when even in the days when HBO used to push it and stop mentioning sanctioning bodies by name and all, there was a push in the boxing media. That's why, if you notice, that era of fighters in the Mayweather era, there wasn't a lot of undisputed champions. It was because the fad of the day, because that's what boxing is, just the latest fad. That's what they go by. Today it's just cool. Tomorrow something else is cool. Back then it was uncool to go for the sanctioning body, so you didn't see a lot of undisputed champions at that time. Now the sanctioning bodies have become cool again, so you see more fighters unifying and looking to create undisputed titles. At that time, I remember HBO, ESPN, even with Friday Night Fights, they wouldn't mention the sanctioning bodies by name. They would just go by the Ring Magazine title. And my problem was the Ring Magazine title had no power. You know, it was cool to have, but you could never enforce a 1 and 2 first fight. There was no way to enforce it. And what's worse is they wouldn't strip. They'd never strip if the main guy at the top never fought the number 1 or number 2 guys, you know. So or if you wanted to take a year off and not defend the title at all, they just wouldn't strip them. So I think the Ring title also is problematic, even if it's free, you know. So like I said, I think there's got to be a middle ground where, you know, people have to know how to meet in the middle, and sometimes egos get in the way, and sometimes greed.
This is the moment when the story moves beyond boxing drama and becomes a major industry disruption. This was never only about $300,000. Nick Khan and TKO are actively pushing new legislation in Congress called the Muhammad Ali American Boxing Revival Act. Their plan is to form a single unified boxing organization known as the UBO. The idea is to operate boxing the same way UFC and WWE are run under one system with one champion in each division. This would remove the need for broken and corrupt sanctioning bodies. Khan is using the Crawford situation as evidence. He is presenting it to lawmakers and the public as proof that the current structure is flawed. He points to how the WBC demands fees, strips champions, and is accused of living well off fighter earnings. TKO is building momentum to remove these groups entirely.
Muhammad Ali Enhancement Act, what we're looking to do, everything that the act already has will stay the same. If you're a fighter and you want to do it the old way with the World Boxing Confederation, and by the way, the gentleman who runs that organization, this is supposed to be a nonprofit organization, going into Canelo Crawford, said he couldn't stay in a regular hotel room. He needed a suite. He wanted to make sure that his tickets were front row. He wanted to make sure there were ample number of tickets. It all seems quite odd to me that a sport would be run that way, or quite odd to us. So in the Enhancement Act, all of that, if you're a fighter and you want to continue with it, nothing changes. This is presenting a different option, where if you want to come into a unified boxing organization like Zuffa, or anyone else who wants to create a unified boxing organization, come here, fight with us. We'll have our own ranking system. The champion will fight the number one contender, just like in the UFC. And if the number one contender is not available, then the champion fights the number two contender. So rather than 17 weight classes and 15 different championships and people getting stripped for no reason, let's do it in a credible way.
Mauricio Suleiman believed he was punishing a defiant fighter. In reality, he may have just marked the end of his organization's influence. Crawford held on to his $300,000. He maintained his status as the best in the world and earned a strong ally in the WWE President. The WBC, meanwhile, appears selfish, outdated, and small-minded.
Because right now there's what? The WBO, the WBA, the WBC, the IBF, and the Ring all have their own rankings. And then they kind of are the ones who decide who gets titles, who doesn't get titles. They kind of run it all. What you guys are saying is, yes, we would just like to add a new ranking system as well. Like, what would be the detractors of this? Why would people not want this to go through if you're just adding to something as opposed to maybe eliminating things?
So number one, the Ring magazine does it right. So it's the Ring model is based on the model. We're basing our model in part on the Ring's model, which again, the champion fights the number one contender, the lineal champion, if you will. To be the man, you got to beat the man. Not to make this about Ric Flair, but that's exactly what you have to do for the Ring championship belt. It would be the same thing in Zuffa. So detractors, anyone, and you know this, you've seen it with your own show on ESPN. When someone comes in to disrupt, the people who aren't by nature disruptors don't like it. So what do? They say, hey, he doesn't do it this way, or why is Pat McAfee not doing it that way? Whatever the things that have annoyed you over the course of time, many of which we've had private conversations of, sometimes it's multiple things in one day, that's all normal. So you've disrupted. And by the way, your viewership numbers and your ratings are reflective of the great disruption that you've caused.
We may one day see this as the moment when power returned to the fighters. When history is written, the paper belt controversy could be the spark that finally reforms boxing. Crawford does not need the WBC, but the WBC needed Crawford, and now they have lost him for good. That's all for today's video. If you liked it, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss our new videos. Also share your thoughts in the comments. Stay tuned, and we will see you in the next one.